Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bros and Brats podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here with Chris and Josh, but we got some nicknames for everybody today because we're just having a dad talk, having a conversation. So, Chris, your nickname right now for this podcast is Crispy
Crispy
Bacon.
Yep.
And Josh,
And I am Sweet Heat,
Sweet
baby.
Heat. So we just wanted to kind of have a conversation. There's, we're all dads, and we all have kids, and especially like in today's world, there's so many things that going on. But like we're gonna have some brats here. Before the episode's over, we're gonna go over this. What's this flavor here? I'm gonna pass it to me.
So we have, for our
Yeah.
delicious tasting pleasure today, we have Gilbert's Craft Sausages.
Oh.
This is the caprese chicken sausage
Okay.
with basil, mozzarella, and sun-dried tomatoes and all natural ingredients.
And it says no antibiotics ever.
That's awesome.
At
I
all.
like the word caprese.
Is that how you say it?
Caprese, yep. It's not caprice, it's
I was
caprese.
gonna say caprice. I'm
I
glad
don't know,
you
but
did.
it sounds good.
That's the Italian pronunciation. Caprese, which is like the mozzarella, tomato, basil, like
a blend.
on like, yeah, it's like that particular combination of flavors is caprese.
It's like kind of how like onion, celery, and carrots is like a mirepoix or whatever. It's
Right,
called,
right, yeah, yep.
Got it.
Blend.
Blend.
It's a beautiful
Perfect
cooking word.
blend.
It is a beautiful cooking word. And it tastes good. It's not like it tastes good. So we'll see. So at the end of the podcast, we'll be able to get a taste of this broth and kind of give our thoughts on it. But before we get into that, as being fathers and like being men, especially all of us having children and at different ages and stages of their lives, one of the big words today that we see is boundaries, right? So kids today usually have phones dropped in their hand around age 8, maybe sooner.
Yeah.
Phones have become babysitters. Phones have become teachers, have become pseudo parents, like all sorts of things. That's where the kids get their information from. So I guess how would you guys define healthy boundaries, and why is it important to set boundaries, especially as men?
Well, first off, as we're talking about boundaries, I would like to point out about these chicken sausages that they are individually wrapped
Right.
chicken sausages.
They're perfectly bound.
That's
can pull these
that's
apart.
a healthy boundary
That's a
right
healthy
there.
boundary.
This is, yeah, so like,
Nobody's
I mean,
touching anybody.
I have personally some boundary issues with eating bratwurst because if you open a pack of them and they're all,
Yep.
you've got 8 of them in that pack, you
Facts.
got to cook all 8 of them, right? So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
with this,
yeah.
like you
Right.
this is like built-in boundaries. That's
Yeah.
pretty helpful.
Yeah. Guidelined boundaries.
There you go.
I like that. So yeah. So what are some just thoughts while Chris is open? Crispy Bacon is opening up that.
So I think boundaries. I mean, we hear that word a lot, especially in church, and it is a beautiful and a good word. I think the real challenge, isn't it, is to adhere to boundaries in a healthy way, like maintain them and keep them in play in your family, like in your relationship with Jesus, in your relationship with your wife, and then in your relationship with your kids. But keeping them in play, which means kind of a fluctuating boundary, if you will, in different areas, and how you do that. So it's not this strict, hey, I have to do this and I can't. But yeah, on the other side of that is there's so many distractions and so many things that you can do nowadays, and they can be good things.
Yeah.
And so how do you protect, which I think boundaries really protect. So how do you say no, which I think is one of the hardest things for us to do, and then put those boundaries into place? For me, what I am endeavoring to do and work to do is the reason I have boundaries, the reason I'm endeavoring to put these into place is not to keep me from something, but to keep me to the something, which is my wife and my kids, and I want to invest in them. And that means I literally need to say no to some things and keep these boundaries, because mine are older now. There's 17 and 21, so the time that I have with them is, at least in my home, is limited. So what I've done recently is I've really said, hey, you know what, I've said no to some other things that look good, and even when people don't always understand it, I'm saying, hey, I just thank you so much for the invite, thank you for the opportunity, but we're just gonna, even if it doesn't sound like you're doing anything important to people, I'm just gonna stay home and I'm gonna hang out with my family tonight.
Yeah.
And people don't always understand that, and a lot do. Sometimes they don't, but When you're realizing the importance of like, hey, I've got my kids in my home for maybe just a few more years.
100%.
I want to go after that time personally. Right now, I'm seeking that as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that one of my children said to me is, this is like maybe last year, and we were at a cousin's house. We were playing. They had a foosball table, and so everybody's going in on foosball, right? And they're trying to challenge me, and nobody wins against me, right? So
That's a good boundary to set. I
that's a very
appreciate
good
that.
boundary to set. Make it very clear from the jump, right?
Yeah.
But two of my kids ended up arguing about playing with me, and the child that said this said, "Hey, move, watch out, because I only have a few more years left with him, left with Dad."
Wow.
And that was very like profound to me, because I was like, I didn't even know you like thought about me like that.
Yeah.
So
Boy, that's a statement. Wow.
it blew me away, and it's flipping to this day still. So I think a lot of times too, when talking about boundaries, Sweet Heat, is when the kids know and understand, like, my time with my dad is really important
Yeah.
as well.
Well, that says a lot about you too. Honestly, that's what a statement. I think that's great. And by the way, I think that we should call you Delicious.
Yep.
On the podcast,
That's your name.
Second.
only.
On the fly. That's your name.
The only context is the podcast. Do not call me that outside of this podcast.
Delicious. So Mr. Licious.
There you go.
There
There you go.
Mr.
Yeah,
Licious.
I respect that one. What about you though? As far as like, saying no, and why is it so hard to say no? Like, especially in this world, right? In the context of like church and ministry, like,
Yeah.
why is it so hard to say no? Or what I feel that pressure?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, like you said, pressure. I think the pressure is a good word for it. I think that drilling down deeper into that, I think really what the root of that is that, when you deal with like religion versus relationship is where that really starts.
Yeah.
And so, when God gives us something to do, like that's the only pressure that should motivate us, right? Like,
Yeah.
but the issue is that when the enemy starts getting in there with fear, with other things that like drive us into people pleasing, that drive us into like, right? I mean, like even like a healthy thing, like we should be like Jesus. The enemy will twist that into like, I should be all things to all people at all times like Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's not true. That's not how he created us. He is fully man and fully God. We are just man, and so like, that like there's a lot that we can do, but it should be, it should be motivated out of that love. It shouldn't be motivated out of like obligation or out of fear. And so like that pressure that you're talking about, like even societal pressure with church, like it really makes it so where we do have what I call false responsibility, where you're feeling like, oh no, like there's lost people in the world. I got to drop everything I'm doing, like bail on my family so I can go out and make sure that guy at the gas station that's tweaking out on meth is like fully saved and coming to Jesus. I mean, and absolutely, if Jesus is calling you to do that, like, follow what Jesus is saying. But I think that's the difference, is that sometimes we start following what we feel obligated to do, not what Jesus is leading us to do.
Yeah.
And those are totally different things.
Say that again, please. Seriously.
We follow what we feel obligated to do,
Wow.
what we feel like we should be doing,
Yeah.
and not what the Holy Spirit and Jesus are leading us into doing.
Yeah.
Right. I love, in the context of like, fathers, we're talking about this, like Jesus said, the only thing I do is what I see the Father doing.
Yeah.
And even him, like, setting that, like, that expectation for dads, for fathers, for what, like our kids absolutely do what they see us doing.
They do.
And if I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, right, like trying to like meet every single person's need around me, and I'm not able to say no, I'm not able to create time and space for my family, then I am modeling for my son like that, like that relationship isn't as important as obligation.
Right.
And like that's the religion versus relationship again. Like, we are called into relationship with our Father God. We're not called into obligatory service.
And we're not like this is something we all have to work on, and it's work. It's not easy to put the boundaries in place. That's why it's so easy to get out of boundaries and be led. The point is to lead yourself, at the leading of the Lord, but to lead yourself in this way, because it's so easy to get focused on things, on this just happened, or this opportunity's here, and it's making yourself conscious and aware of the fact that you have a higher responsibility. That's to keep your personal health in check, like your marriage covenant in check, your family, like those are your priorities. And it doesn't mean that you can't make decisions to do something different in the moment, but like it's so easy, like think about it, it's so easy to unprioritize the things that are most important. That's just a tactic of the enemy.
And I think so much of that, riffing off of that, like so much of the time we don't even know what our priorities should be, what we should be saying no to things to say yes to other things, because it gets, in that the enemy lying to us, it's like, well, all these things, like I got to go do all this stuff for everybody because that's what's important. Like following hard after Jesus is important, which is absolutely true. But what is that doesn't mean doing everything. That means doing what Jesus is calling you to do, and that it's not. Yeah, I love the way that you said that. But I think when we can finally, when we can spend the time with Jesus, when we can spend the time with the Holy Spirit, with the Father, to hear what it is that He is calling us to do, what it is He is modeling for us. When we spend time watching what He's doing, so that we can reflect what He's doing, right? Then it is easier for us to say no, because then we really do have captured what the important thing is, what the priority is, right? If I don't have any idea that I'm supposed to be doing this, and then somebody comes along being like, hey, you should do that, then it's, why would I not say yes to that? Like they think that, but then in that moment they're defining what I should be doing, right? It's handing the reins of my destiny, of my calling, of my other things away from God. It's handing them to somebody else based on what they see in me, not based on what God sees in me.
That's good. May I interrupt? Because
we just talked.
Like I'm not a malnourished person, but I feel like by the time we get to the end of this, if Crispy doesn't turn up the heat.
I was gonna say that because
I like my bacon crispy.
I was like, how you gonna
crispy? That's how you got your name, Crispy.
As high as this grill goes.
Is that how
okay.
it's
All right, so
we're running our audio and camera equipment off the same power, so I
feel
think
like
we're
I'm fasting.
sharing a little bit of this.
Okay,
you're operating
the
in
cheese
faith
is
right
melting,
now.
I can see it.
Okay, all right.
But there's no sizzling happen, which concerns me.
And it's got the bubbles is popping
and
up.
That's how you got
the meat's
there's
cooking.
cheese coming out of there.
Maybe that would be a good name, Crispy and then Sizzler.
Sizzler. All right.
Sizzler.
That's
that's a little better than delicious.
Delicious, yeah.
Hey, I'm trying.
Yes,
I'm trying.
Oh, it's getting cooked.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, okay.
You are trying, Josh.
Well, I'm thinking about like the you said something too, Josh, like Messiah complex. I gotta save everybody right now. The world's on fire.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And but I forget, like, I'm a part of a body.
Mm-hmm.
So like the hand doesn't be like, I gotta go grab this everything right now, and the hand doesn't think. The hand just grabs and does what the hand does. You know what I'm saying? And so, in that same vein, like now we know about the root of like what we do and the foundation of it. What type of boundaries do we set from that? What does it look like for media? What does it look like for, being on the phone that everybody has nowadays? That's like attached.
Yeah.
Right.
So that Pastor Josh here is very. I feel like it's very accomplished at. Like, would you want to speak to that?
As far as like media
boundaries with your phone.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't feel like I'm great at that on the media side. Yeah, like so, my wife, she has complete access to my phone, to anything she wants. Like there's, she knows where I'm at, find a friend, all that stuff. I don't do that at this point in my life. I don't do it because I feel like I need to do it. But on one hand, on the other hand, I do it because I do need to do it because I do want to be an example for people. And the truth is I want no opportunity for offense or questions. I just, hey, let's be open and transparent. So, this is, you have access all the time. So I think that's super important if that's what you were kind of getting to. And then striving for the covenant, like I'm after the pursuit of my spouse, and to me, the boundaries that I put in place is to get me to that place. And it's not always work. It's not always hard. Sometimes it's really simple. We just took a trip for a couple days and had an amazing time. We went up to Mackinac, and we just we spent time together. Sometimes you have to put the boundary in place to actually make that happen when you're so busy and when you feel like, how can we do this? Or maybe it's, how can we afford this? But it was just then you come away realizing we should do this more often, right? But just super healthy. And then out of your marriage, then you connect to your kids better. And so I don't know if that fully answers it, but from a media perspective, I'm a complete advocate of. My wife absolutely has all access. Then when it comes to different moments, like if I've ever had any concerns with people, my wife knows everything. There's nothing that I won't tell her. Yep. She knows everything. She can ask any questions without any fear of repercussion at all. Like I'm a safe place. You ask me anything. In fact, I welcome it. Like that's just absolutely.
There's a lot of freedom in that. Like there really is. Like the other day, like same situation. Like I'm just like, hey, you can have. She's like, can I use your phone? Yes. Like here. Actually, don't give it back because I don't want it. Because somebody's going to text me and call me. I don't want it. So please take my phone. But it is so much freedom in that, and being able to just not be worried about any kind of, thing taken wrong or dishonor or anything like that. So I love their freedom in saying, hey, I don't care. Have my phone. I don't care how long you have it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that helped me learning boundaries, and especially with being available to people with the cell phone, right? Like always be on your texting or whatever. Yeah. Like if you're in the middle of a conversation, somebody texts you, like right. No, I'm just kidding. Right. No. But you do like how many times do we like get distracted and start you're not able to communicate the love and reflect the love of God for people when you're always distracted and not paying attention to our conversation. So that's a huge thing. But also when we're called to be peacemakers, not peacekeepers. So one of the things sometimes it's easy for me to want to be able to call somebody out on or you're whatever, if somebody's trying to get in my space, am I guarding a finite resource of peace, or do I have this source of all peace as that's at my back, right? So when I walk around, is it do I need to be worried? Do I need to be in fear that my peace is going to be used up or that my joy is going to be used up? Or do I have an infinite source of that? Now, that being said, God definitely takes us into seasons of rest. He put the Sabbath in there for a reason. We do sleep every day, most of us anyways, I think that, there's definitely times where we do need to put healthy boundaries in there so that I can give you my best, not give you the dregs. And that's one of the biggest... for me personally, in the last couple of years, I've really had to go from I'm functioning out of the bottom of my cup to functioning out of the overflow of my cup. Yeah. And the only way to get to that place is through healthy boundaries, is through understanding what it is I should say no to, not just giving freely to anything and everything. Yeah. But being able to give the best of what I have, which is the overflow, right? Not the bottom, but not the tea leaves and the coffee grounds, but the cream of the crop first sip of that, right?
Sip,
the first
still
sip.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the coffee. You got the pretty design on there. The first, flowers, here's your first sip of this,
I don't know
right?
How they do that.
I would love to know that too, but I think it's really, I want to be able to give my best to people. I want to be able to minister at the level that truly reflects the excellence of God. Yeah. And I can't do that when I'm sleep deprived and by the power of grace, the Holy Spirit, I'm not going to say that I can't do it. Whatever, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, right?
Yeah, but it's better.
But there's better. Yeah, when I'm intentionally, yeah, exactly. There's so much more grace when I'm not running on 2 hours of sleep, and I'm able to listen to the Holy Spirit better in that moment because I'm not distracted by everything, because my brain isn't going a million miles an hour just trying to stay awake. Yeah.
Where are you at? It's cooking, and the cheese is falling out.
It's moving.
Sizzle.
We're not to crispy yet, but we're on our way.
It's getting some brown on it.
A little brown on there.
Got a little crisp going on.
Caramelization.
Yeah.
So someone said to me, he said, if you're, and I think I'm getting this right, but if your no is always yes, then your no doesn't mean anything.
Wow.
Yeah. And back to just boundaries with phones and things like that, I think the way we have got, like, in culture, society, is two things. We're highly disrespectful, which, you think about it, that's what men really, really need, is to be respected, to feel respected. So if I'm having a meeting with you or Chris, or I'm in a meeting with someone, and I'm looking at my phone, or if my phone's going berserk, and I don't have it on mute or upside down even, just so I'm not looking at it. I mean, what am I communicating then to, and I haven't arrived at this, but I'm aware of this.
Yeah.
Like, what's being communicated? I don't really respect what you say.
Not at all.
My time is more important. I need to do other things. And it's easy to do. So I'm even looking to not take my phone if I go into a meeting in a restaurant, leave it in the car.
Yeah.
Like, for sure it's on mute and upside down.
Yeah.
But even then, it'll buzz. You know what I mean? And so I just...
Hard as a millennial to do that.
Yeah. So, but culturally, it does not communicate respect to people.
Yeah.
And I especially for men. I mean, this is something I think we need to, like, be. If you're busy, I get it, but at least when we're in the moment, can we be in the moment?
Be in the moment,
as much as we know how to be.
I think it's like a lot of restlessness, because it's like, how do you be present when you're always somewhere else?
Yeah.
I'm always somewhere else, whether with my kids or whatnot, and they feel it too. So, like, why would I want to communicate? Hey, it goes back to obligation, what you were saying. All of that communicates, this is just an obligation to me.
And if you're training your brain, like, you train yourself, and so if we can almost train ourselves into, like, ADD in a sense, because we're doing this, now we're doing that, now we're doing this, and there's no, it's almost like a it's like a bipolar mentality. It's like, I'm doing this and I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm here, and so, like, there is something to that is so important in boundaries, to, like Chris was saying, just to find your peace, find the center of things, and, like, okay, wait a minute. I'm going to choose to shut myself down and just be here in the moment. If it's in my prayer time or if it's just with my kids, I'm gonna force myself to do this until I get good at it and better at it.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think as we get closer to the big bite of these, caprese?
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Caprese?
Caprese.
Caprese.
Okay.
You get the Italian, like, you put your fingers like this. Yeah.
Caprese.
Caprese.
This is what Alex does when he wants to shake your
That's
hand,
true.
right?
He does. Yeah.
But I love that, because it makes me think about how important it is. So to have boundaries. So let's talk about, like, what does boundaries do when you do say no, when you are unafraid, and to set those boundaries up, and to, what you value. How does that teach us responsibility? How does that show that we are responsible? One thing I really love what you said when I first met you, we were sitting out and greeting, or you were sitting down, and you said, just be sure that before you get onto all this stuff, ministry school and all these things, you said, make sure that you and your wife are good. And I always believed, like, it was my wife, so it's me, my wife and my kids, and then everything else. But the way you displayed it was like, hey, it's you and the Lord, of course, but then you and your wife, and then your kids.
Yeah.
I put the two together for the longest time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, let's talk about
that's
that.
Easy to
just before we get to that bite.
Not that you're not being responsible and taking care of your kids, but you didn't marry your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You married your wife, and the kids were a fruit of that, and they're a wonderful fruit and part of that. But they are, they'll get in between your marriage.
Yeah.
They'll get in between your covenant, and So, like, prioritize the covenant, which is our second most important covenant that we have, is with our wives. And really, even to do, I'm going to say it this way, life, and or if it's ministry that you're doing, whatever you're doing, like, to do it well, we need to be enjoying and thriving in our covenants.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that there's not work and there's not rehearsal, if you will, practice, difficulties. Like, that's part of growth and growing. And I don't think that in marriage that it's always the marriages that are having problems, but it's what we bring into those marriages, and it's the things we need to get healed from. So, and then we got to take the pressure off ourselves, but really enjoying the marriage covenant for sure. The fruit of that is our kids, which are awesome, but they're not thinking about your marriage. They're just thinking mom and dad are there. So you asked the question, the responsibility of boundaries. It is our responsibility to have the boundaries so we can keep our families healthy, our marriages healthy. So we're making a stand for something, and it's really difficult. I get it. It's not easy to do. Because like I think Chris, someone mentioned pressure. Like I feel that because I naturally want to serve people. I naturally want to do stuff for people, or get together, hang out, that kind of stuff. But if I don't prioritize what I should prioritize, it easily gets out of whack. It's just not worth it. And then you really lose what I call the life-giving, sustaining power, because you're just, again, I think it's back to pleasing people. The pressure of the moment, the circumstance that comes up, and it's like, no. And there is so much joy to be found in family. If we would take the time, set the boundaries, just to do it. And listen to your kids. My son right now, he gets excited about something usually about 9-10 o'clock at night, about the time when I'm thinking bed, right? I want to go to sleep. And I've learned to really honestly love this. He will talk for an hour or two, and you know what, some of the stuff he's talking about in the tech world is way over my head, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying, but you are excited, and I really enjoy hearing him. I enjoy that he's talking about the intricacies and the details, and and he goes on, and it's exciting to hear him. Like I've trained myself to enjoy that and lean into it instead of leaning away because I don't know anything about it.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think it brings it home. And it's the other side point too. You can tell a lot about a man by how he grills. Chris knows what he's doing.
He does.
I thought he was gonna, I was watching to see, you gonna hand us that bun out that bag? Nope. He put it on the grill, toasted a little bit. He knows what he's doing.
Been many occasions with Chris B.
Better when you pull it open and
but we don't have the space.
I don't want to put on my hands
or the
all
time.
over it, or the time.
So as we get to this bite here, as we wrap in this episode about boundaries of the Bros and Brats podcast, what is one thing you both would just say that would help somebody that is having a problem saying no? It's kind of under that banner of I want to people please.
So I read a quote, and I have it here, and it says, "When you articulate your boundaries to people, they have the opportunity to respect your needs and virtues and protect your relationship with them. And when they value and protect the things that are important to you, the relationship flourishes. This is the process that builds trust between you and others." This is from the book, The Supernatural Power of Forgiveness, which I think that really encapsulates boundaries well, because it's not just about me saying no to everybody.
Right.
It is about building a healthier environment for both of us, or for all of us, or for my whole family. I want my family to be healthier. And if that means that I have to say no sometimes, let's do it. Let's say no, because the value of the health is more valuable to me than the perceived obligation of doing something for somebody else.
I would kind of say something in the same way, just say it a little different. First, if you're feeling that it's difficult and you feel the fear of saying no, or it's hard for you, difficult, realize that that's probably most people. So take some of the pressure off the moment. And then you recognize it, right? So you're saying, okay, then you go to the Lord and you just invite him into that moment, and you begin to find some form of repentance and say, okay, Lord, I want to repent of this, and I don't want any fear in my life, because that's a stronghold for the enemy, and that means I'm not free. My love hasn't been perfected. So, Lord, I'm repenting. Help me to repent in this moment. So, you're recognizing it, you're repenting, you're inviting the Lord into it, and you're doing all that because you recognize what's really most important. Like Chris said, you're prioritizing that thing that really matters most, and that's where you're going to have success and reward.
Beautifully said. Let's get to the bite. We gotta get a barbecue sauce like that.
I know it.
Sweet heat. With your face on it. Just, let's go.
Wait a minute.
So this is the other component to this
That's hot.
caprese
Might not have a lip anymore.
situation.
It's a man
Yeah,
fail.
there's hot cheese
didn't-
in here, so
This
figure-
mozzarella. Right.
mozzarella.
Oh, this smells good too.
Yep.
I think I ate mustard once when I was a kid, and I never wanted to eat it again. I was absolutely done.
You know what I like about mustard?
My relationship with
Traumatized by mustard.
But maybe it was like an old school lunch mustard, so you never know.
Well, if it was school lunch mustard,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
problem right there. But
Okay.
good mustard like this, like French's,
Yeah, that's a whole different animal.
or this might be Walmart brand. Can we say that?
Is that-
Great value. Oops.
Sorry. Yeah.
So what's beautiful about mustard,
There you go.
especially in the man world? 0 calories. You can load it on. You can have all kinds of it all the time, and it doesn't add.
I think we need to bust out that measuring tape. I think
Oh.
you brought your special tool.
I did. One of the important
Just measure
things
this.
I think about, well, in food in general, but like a brat or a hot dog, you know. Well, there's a lot. Anyway, so you have to have bun length needs to be. Wow, that's actually almost on the mark. That's impressive.
What is it?
It's 6 heavy. So if you've
Like
been
a
in
heavy
construction,
six,
it's
yeah,
heavy 6, right?
Yeah.
And then a little disappointing because I'm going to say the brat itself is 5 heavy. No, actually 5 shy. So,
I was gonna say
you know,
there's a little too much bread on the ends of this thing.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, squeeze it.
it's
Not
about
too
a
bad.
3/4 inch.
Like a
Yeah.
New York style pizza's got a.
I don't know if you viewers at home can see this, but I've got quite a bit of bread here to my brat
Right.
ratio. It's
So,
not,
what do
not
you-
quite ideal.
What do you do with that? I mean, I know what I do. I do this because, I think about, it's not about being wasteful, but I don't need to eat that extra bread, right? That's calories.
That's true. It is just extra calories.
Right.
All right.
So, all right.
I bet mine
So-
already. Sorry.
How do you say that again?
caprese.
Caprese. I like that. That's a good
He
word.
says
Kind
it
of
the
rolls
best.
off the tongue.
You got to get the Italian lilt. The caprese. That's the best way to do it.
Cheese.
Oh yeah. Cheese is definitely hot. Well, you didn't crisp them up, but you warmed those babies up.
And that's not hot in the middle. I know this grill.
Is it tomatoes inside here?
There are tomatoes in there.
That's
That's
really
what that
good.
is.
I
tomato,
like that
cheese,
acidity
and basil.
that it adds.
Yeah.
It's
That's
really good.
what ketchup is all about. That's why we
No,
put
no, but this
condiment-
is like where the ketchup comes from.
It is. It's true.
So why do I need ketchup when I got a tomato inside?
Because there's that little bit of like
A tomato.
je ne sais quoi,
flower.
the like extra like
Wait, Genesis, what's that?
je ne sais quoi. The I
You
don't.
didn't know that?
I
What
can't.
does that mean?
Means
I
I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
It sounds beautiful. Je ne sais quoi.
It's
like man-
Should I go
like,
around
what is
saying
this?
that or not?
Je ne sais quoi.
Just go around. Hello, je ne sais quoi. Like, don't say that to me, please.
So I normally like spicy, and this isn't spicy, but it has a good, I'd say like a medium, healthy, wholesome kind. I'd say
It's well
wholesome's a good
seasoned.
word.
Yeah.
Like it's got a good
Yeah.
amount of like just like table pepper. Like it's it's
Yeah.
like a good
Right.
good seasoning level.
I'm wearing some of mine.
Sometimes the chicken sausage that you get tastes like nothing. So this is, I'm actually, like it does.
Right
like,
on.
It's like applewood smoked chicken with like apple bits in there. It's like,
Yeah, and you don't know what
you
you're
bite
eating.
it, it's like you just bit a log. Like, what?
Right.
What did I eat?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Chicken sausage texture to me
Yeah.
is like
It's kind of off.
it's a fail.
It's
This
not
is
right.
Came in a bougie
this is not
box.
terrible. It did come in a bougie box. Anything that's individually wrapped
Yep.
in the meat world. Okay, let's
Right.
just be honest.
Come on.
right?
Right.
When you go shopping for
Preach
meat,
it.
do you get
No.
the individually wrapped, tiny little, perfectly proportioned piece of
Nope.
meat, or do you get like the ugliest, biggest, giantest piece of meat that you can find and slap that sucker on the grill
Yep.
and roast it for as long as it needs to be roasted,
Yep.
and then you come off and you open it up and it's perfectly like nice and pink in the middle and it's just delicious.
Yeah, I get
With
whatever
chicken
I,
that's maybe not so pink, but
I get whatever I can because I got ravenous wolves at home. I need to eat this. Get into the fridge and go.
very true.
But okay, so how would you guys rate this? Like out of 5, this being the best.
As compared to what?
I don't know.
Yeah. What's my benchmark? You know what I
I
mean?
don't know. Like, what's a
I
chicken
gotta say,
sausage? So,
chicken
like,
sausage is not really my benchmark in general.
Yeah.
So this is hard. It's hard for me to.
And we're talking about food, so this
its
is a
own
big deal.
category.
Like, we got to really.
So this is
define
it's
this.
nice outside. This is dog season, right? So like, compared to like your
Oh.
so you got the bratwurst.
Is that fennel in there? Oh man,
This is fancy.
it is fancy.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess.
I mean, yeah. So legitimately, you really wouldn't need condiments with this because it has enough cheese, it has the tomatoes, it has the seasoning in there. It's even got the basil leaves. So you got your greens, you've got your tomatoes, you've got. I mean, like, and it actually has flavor and it's well seasoned. So I mean, the texture on this, for chicken sausage is actually really good. For
Chicken sausage. Yeah, there you go.
I think honestly the flavor level and the seasoning level is really high.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those things that like most people don't like. They season it all at the end and they don't like season it as you go through it, right? Like this is like fully seasoned all the way through, which is it's a really good bite.
It's good.
So when I'm done chewing, I'll chime in.
It's all good.
So, if I had a ballpark and this on a grill,
yeah.
The all beef ballpark or the regular ballpark?
I know. Thank you.
Good one.
This is why I love you.
That's quick.
I mean, you got to think about why you're at the lake and you know what you're doing, and you have to have a hot dog. First of all, you have to, and it should be all beef.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, I would go with this because, well, let me back up. I would do both, obviously. But if I had to have, like, if I was going to have three, not saying I would eat three, I probably would, but I would do two of these and one beef
2-1
ballpark.
ratio.
So one of my benchmark tests, right, is would I eat this without a bun and no condiments?
Ooh, yeah. Well, that's, yeah.
I
and
would.
in this case, I absolutely would.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is actually like this is a win to me.
Yeah.
So we come to that. We had the bite. So our consensus so far on the caprese.
Caprese.
Is, sorry, hold on. The caprese.
There you go.
There you go.
There we go. Is it a good chicken sausage? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
I would definitely
Not-
eat it again.
Right.
That's a win.
Yeah. But you wouldn't go looking for it. Like if it was there, great.
Right. Yeah.
I
Again,
would also want something with an actual flame to it to grill it on. That's,
Yeah. Bringing the flavors out.
because the cheese would melt, and then that's where the crispy.
Yeah.
yeah, you get the caramelization on
Right.
the outside of the
And that
skin.
changes
and
everything.
just-
That doesn't happen on a beef ballpark hot dog. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you get it with cheese, but then it gets different cheese. So I'd have to. This would be the most important on the grill for me.
And honestly, like, I got to say that I'm not a huge fan of like cheese built into the
Yeah, yeah.
bratwurst and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but the mozzarella in this was
That's
actually
different.
turned out well. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't like melt and spray everywhere. You didn't bite it and it like gushed all over your face. Like, yeah,
But see, we just learned something there, really, if we're paying attention, right? Because it's not that the cheese is built in. Because I think that I'm going to put words in your mouth. I think that you would say that's awesome. I
would,
think what you're
yes.
really saying is when there's cheese in a bratwurst and it explodes and goes everywhere, it doesn't stay in the brat. It
Yes.
doesn't get
Yeah, so
it
you don't get the
it
texture.
gyps me of being,
Right,
having
yes.
a fullness of enjoyment. in it.
That's why you
That's
have
really
a
what the
bag of
problem
shredded
is.
cheese or
Exactly.
provolone or something.
See,
That
okay,
slice of that.
okay,
right?
perfect
Kobe
bratwurst.
cheese.
Is your bratwurst is your bun. You put shredded cheese down in the bun, then
Right.
your bratwurst, and then you get barbecue sauce all over the top of it.
Yeah.
And that is like, it's the ultimate setup. And you can put
Right.
a little salt and pepper on there
Maybe
if you
some
want to, just
peppers.
to give it a little bit, yeah, like a little extra kick.
Yes.
Okay. If I was to give this 0 out of 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the trashiest, I would say this chicken sausage is probably like a 4. It's hard to chew at the end.
It was that out of all chicken sausages,
Yeah.
I would give this. I think you're right. Maybe like a 3.7 on the scale. Like it was really solid. It was above average.
Yeah.
It had really good flavor, but the texture was still not quite where I wanted it to be.
Yep.
And yeah, the cheese just kind of was a little too hot. Like it had like pockets of like I'm burning my mouth off.
Sizzle.
First
So
of
you
all, yes. I love how you break it down. I break it down similarly. So, chicken number one is not my favorite brat. So that takes me down to, definitely
You
like
just knock off.
Yeah.
Like a whole point.
yeah.
But if I was talking about it, chicken brats in the whole world, the entire, I know there's some real high-end chicken brats out there.
Yeah.
So this was good as far as a typical consumer-based brat. I mean, it was definitely up there on the level, so I would give that I'd probably give that a 3.5, 4. I'd be right in there with you guys.
Yeah.
But like if you had a world view, like a missions view of
Yeah.
brat, 2.5 is where I would
That
be
makes sense, yeah.
as far as
In
like
the
what's
world,
available out
yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
But common, typical, you can go to the grocery store and grab a good brat, chicken brat.
Chicken brat.
Absolutely. 3.5, 4.
Yeah. There
Solid.
you go.
Gilbert's Caprese chicken sausage for the win.
Well, I'll tell you
Some
what.
hot sauce.
I love that input. So let's take 5, and we'll come back with some more brats.